their first win against Western since November of 2016. And the number 4 Laurier Golden Hawks knock off the number 1 team in the country with a 43-28 win on home field.
Connor, week 4 did not disappoint.
Oh, no, it did not. No, it did not.
Welcome back, as per usual. The OUA show here with Connor O'Neill, Wade Zanketta on behalf of Canadian Football Perspective. Let's stop bearing the lead. The Laurier Golden Hawks and Western Mustangs played a rematch of the Yates Cup this past weekend at Laurier's home field on the new turf, where Laurier's wearing their new jerseys. And after a 17-2 first half, we had a tie game. But that 17-2 first half makes all the difference. And Connor, Ethan, Jordan, Taylor, Elgersma, Tanner, Nelms, and Raiden Thorne. Have you heard those 4 names being impact players a lot over the last couple of years, or what?
Yeah, maybe once or twice. Maybe once or twice over the last couple of years. Man, yeah, no, couldn't agree more. It was Laurier dominance out of the gate in this ball game. I mean, when you just kind of track the scoring a little bit here, going into the early third quarter here, it was 24-2 in favor of those Golden Hawks. And yeah, maybe Western kind of started to turn it on late in the game, but when they started to turn it on, it was too late by this point, and Taylor Elgersma and crew ran away with this one. Really, it was a convincing win for the Golden Hawks. It was a dominant win for the Golden Hawks. And hey, they get rewarded. They shoot all the way up to number 1 in the U Sports top 10 rankings. I don't know if you saw that. I'm sure you did. But for those who didn't, yeah, Laurier now tops the polls in the U Sports ranking after that dominant 43-28 win over the Western Mustangs.
Yeah, and I think in terms of the top 10, Connor, I mean, for my sake, it was, yes, Laval beat Montreal, who we all think is the favorite to win the damn thing in Kingston at the end of the year. But they did so by just hanging on for dear life. Laurier came out against Western, who everyone agrees could be one of the top 2 or final 2, and they thumped them. And Connor, it wasn't particularly close. I mean, we talked about Western having to really lean into their identity, and Western don't let teams determine what you're going to do on the offensive side of the football. Connor, they got told what they were going to do on the offensive side of the football when they went down 15 points in the first half. Laurier said, okay, run the ball, kill your own clock. It's yours to die with. Have fun. And as a result, I mean, Keon Edwards, 13 touches. He had 80 yards. One was on, I think, one of his first plays of the game. He had a good carry, but he coughed the ball up. Yazbek only touches the ball 6 times. I mean, they made Evan Hillock the focal point of the Western offense. And Connor, it seemed like when Taylor Elgersma was the focal point compared to Evan Hillock, there was a whole lot of confidence in the coaching staff of what Taylor Elgersma can do. Whether that is evading, rushing, rolling out, and dumping the ball off to Laomi, who, they have a concept where it pulls the corner high, and Laomi is just kind of sitting 12 yards at the first down, waving Taylor Elgersma, going, hey, man, spot me. They had that utmost confidence in Taylor to navigate the pocket, step up, make the safe decision. And, even last week against Guelph, when he had the early turnovers, that didn't deter their confidence or sway their confidence. He is their guy that they believe in, from man number 1 to man number 90-something on the roster. He is the guy that everyone looks to and says, take us to this promised land. And, there were some great individual plays. I mean, Raiden had a couple huge catches. EJ had a huge scramble down the sideline after, what was a routine second and long sail concept where, you get Laomi flying down the sideline, the 12 to 15 speed out and something low underneath. And you hit Ethan Jordan, all of a sudden he's tiptoeing the sidelines, and it's, he's in a foot race, and nobody thought he was going to get through that mess of people. And here he goes. Really, really nice to see those playmakers kind of get in that groove. But to me, the difference was the confidence in I almost want to say the coaching staff between the two quarterbacks of Taylor. take care of the football for us. Meanwhile, when Western got into that spot, it was still a lot of the same past concepts that they use when they're winning, right? Short flats, play action to hit a deep ball, or just kind of trying to establish something in the run game. And I think that was caught on to by Coach V and the Laurier defense. But do I think that the score would be the same if these two teams played a second time? Hell no. Because the one thing that Western didn't need was a fire lit underneath them. And I think this lit that same fire.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to see this matchup somewhere again down the road, and I'm very much looking forward to that. The Laurier Golden Hawks over 500 yards of total offense in this one. Taylor Elger is most certainly the guy.
83%, by the way, is the number of his completions.
24 of 29 attempts, 385, 2 touchdowns. Not a bad day for
and 2 rushing
Golden Hawks quarterback and 2 rushing on the ground.
Yes, they were both sneaks. Did we want the GRT to do it? Yes, but we did not get that.
No, we did not. We did not. I think we can move off on this one though. It was certainly a great game for the Golden Hawks. Good game for OUA fans. Not sure it's going to be the last we see these two teams meet each other. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to your Varsity Blues? Do you want to go to my GG's? What about the McMaster Guelph game? I will give you your pick of the litter here.
I want to go to Marshall McRae and his 12-game touchdown streak that he's got going right now. Connor, is there a more deadly formation in the OUA than when Guelph gets in the red zone and they put Marshall and Donovan and Caleb and Isaiah Smith all in the backfield together? You've got 4 elite ball carriers.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. And because you have so many guys in the box, that means you're probably going to get one-on-one coverage with Arsenault or Vachon when he's healthy and playing. Connor, I thought Guelph made a statement, and this is what I feel really bad for McMaster. They're 1-3. Connor, they have played Guelph, Queens, and Laurier, who look like 3 of the top 4 teams in the OUA. That's a tough spot to be in for Mac.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough spot to be in. It's a tough schedule for McMaster. It's not like they're playing bad football, though. Like, they've been in all of these games, and even in this one, I mean, they started off with a beautiful ball by Keegan Hall, hits Nicholas Adair for a 5-yard touchdown, and they get out in front in this one, and they're leading up until Tristan Aboud hits William Arsenault for a 19-yard pass. And then, like you're saying, with the creativity of the Guelph backfield, when Marshall McRae is in there, Marshall McRae was quarterbacking in this one. They're down in the red zone. Everybody on the field, myself included, watching this is going, I think this one's going to Marshall. I think it's going to Marshall. Lo and behold, it does not. It goes to Donovan Malloy for an 8-yard touchdown. And Guelph goes up 21-10.
Pause for a second. Did we see
the touchdown celebration?
Yes.
I'm going to make sure to clip it in. Don't worry.
So if you're watching, Malloy, Smith, and Sargent all popped in the end zone, started doing the Spider-Man meme, pointing at each other, because they are that similar on the field. They're all that good of playmakers. But like Connor said, Mac was in this game.
100%. Mac was in this game. Keegan Hall was playing really, really well. They were capitalizing in their red zone opportunities. I mean, Lucas Baresi gets down there and punches in two short ones on the goal line. Guelph, I think the only thing I can really say about Guelph in this one is, they got going a little bit late. By the time they were kind of back in this ball game. I mean, they were in it 23-17, coming down in the fourth quarter here, but then they let Guelph go back up on a Marshall McRae 1-yard touchdown run late in the fourth quarter. Guelph goes up 29-17, and by that time, you're trying to play catch up with sub 4 minutes left in this game. And again, Baresi capitalizes on one, but by that point it's too late. It's kind of 10 seconds left in this ball game. But yeah, Mac was in this one. Guelph, hell of an offense. This team has got to give defensive coordinators nightmares and headaches and migraines and whatever other head ailments you can think of for these coaches, because they are so tough to deal with.
Yeah, and I mean, Mac gets Carlton next, but then they get on that bye week, and then it's Western. Like, this schedule does not let up. until really after Thanksgiving. We get Waterloo, we get York, and then they close out the year. But it's tough to find a break for this McMaster team. And, you open with three really tough, really stout teams. You fight, you're competitive in all three, but at some point that morale just has to be taking a hit. No matter how close these games are, guys have to be feeling down on themselves, despite the high level of play they've actually showed all year.
And speaking of those Carlton Ravens, who the McMaster Marauders will have to deal with next week, they are coming off a
Drubbing.
huge win.
Drubbing.
Huge win over
Is it drumming or drubbing?
I'd have to look it up. I'm not a linguist. I'm not
either
not
way
much of
big
a literary genius or anything. Huge win, 42-12. Really, this one started for me. Toronto gets out early with a field goal. They're leading 3-0, but not for long. Kasim, the dream, Ferdinand, 2 touchdowns early in this game, back to back, goes for one late in the first quarter, turns one around with, another really nice play for the second touchdown to fight to get into the end zone. And when you're doing things like that early in the ball game, it's going to be a tough day for the opposing defense. And then, Matthew Morin comes in and adds to this with a 15-yard touchdown run. Had himself a really good day. He had 100 yards on the ground on 16 carries. I thought Elijah Barnes, though, man, played really good football in this one.
I think that has to be
2 touchdowns. Like, Elijah Barnes is kind of the focal point for me in this one. He played so smooth.
Yeah, and like 338 all purpose. Connor, I think Elijah Barnes has to be the story of the year so far in the OUA. And I know Carlton's record, you're like, oh, well, they're 1-3. Yeah, but they're 1-3, and Elijah Barnes has played 3 full games. They shot themselves in the foot against Western, but he showed they could move the ball against them. Windsor 100%. Was his first ever career start. They led until the very last second, until the gun. They were leading that game. And then this game, he comes out and it's like, what do I always say? The 3-game rule. We can have a half of a game for Guelph because he played majority of that one. 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, he shows you who he is. Efficient, calm. I think that's the biggest thing I noticed with him is the poise he carries himself with. Whether he's scrambling and he's got a guy in his face, he knows he's going to take the shot. Doesn't really phase him. He just kind of drops it off, takes the hit, rolls, gets up, and looks to Coach Sokobi at the sidelines. Where's my call coming from? So the balance with Morin, T-Ready, as our friend Tanner DeYoung calls him, he was electric. Vertical threat, shows the ball carrying skills. He had a punt return a bunch of this game as well, but Kasim Ferdinand impact was done early. And I think the second touchdown where he kind of caught it, made guy miss, took a shimmy and dove in the end zone. That was where I think for Toronto, it was kind of like, oh, we had 4 guys there and he still found a way to sneak in. And for Carlton, they just kind of rode that. And then the pass rush turns on with Ife and it just goes all the way from there.
Yeah, nothing much really else to say on this one. I think this was all Carlton start to finish. And much like Mac, I think just before we move on, like I really do think that these Carlton Ravens are in a similar situation where they've played a ton of these games. Yeah, they're 1-3, but a lot of these games, like you were saying, they're games they're in. They're games that, they'd like to have back, little mistakes here and there, but I think they're winnable ball games for the Ravens. And I think they're going to, this is obviously for the preview, but I think they're going to come in and compete this upcoming week. Now, heading into the next one, he does it twice last week. There's no way he does it again, right? Not a freaking chance. Ian St. Arnaud is going to go for a 3rd missed field goal return in 2 weeks, right? Wrong. 117 yards off a missed field goal from the Ottawa GGs to start off a 48-20 absolute to
physical
start
match.
off.
This was just out muscle for win, and nonetheless, Connor, for win number 500 in program history for the Queen's Golden Gales. 500 total wins. What history! Like that is everything that we grew up with. The Pat Sheen age, Tracy, all the way into Schneider, like the Hargraves era, way back when, all the way leading up to this. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a really special moment for that program. So clap it up for them. It sucks for me coming against my alma mater a little bit, but nonetheless, it is history in the making. And as an OUA football fan, first and foremost here on this show, like I'm very happy to see Queens nab their 500 win, despite the opponent here. But for me in this one, really the focal point was the Queens special teams unit and Queens's defense in this one. I mean, they had the blocked punt that Jeremy Hiscock picked up for the 19-yard scoop and score. Keegan Vanek turns it around and goes for 64 yards on a pick six to cap off a really, really nice day and earns a defensive player of the week for the CFP players of the week this week. It's a 48-20 game, and Queens' offense did a lot of things right here. But for me, Wade, feel free to agree or disagree. I thought it was their defense and special teams that really was the standout performance here.
Well, okay, so we've seen this trend with Ottawa over the first 4 games now, Connor. When Charles Asselin does not touch the ball at least 20 times, what happens to this offense? And outside of a pick six, which Alex freaking stared down to the field too long by Pat Cumberbatch, and a big return by Denny Ferdinand, which set up the offense to kick a field goal, they didn't really have a whole lot. I guess Miracle had a passing touchdown before the end of the quarter or the end of the half. Charles has to get the ball. And I understand that Souleymane Kamara was back in the lineup. That doesn't change who your number one player is on your roster. And the focal point of your team as an entirety still has to be Charles Asselin. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. My piece on Queens, Freak had 2 picks that, yes, we'll take. Those were on you. But the third one, I think it was Eric Cumberbatch had the one. The ball looked like it was going to be complete to Falcone on the sideline. A really nice ball. All of a sudden, the ball gets punched 20 feet in the air, and
nice
name your Gigi coming down with it. Right?
Yeah.
Like they had so many guys rallying to the football. I don't know. When you start a game off with that Ian St. Arnaud return touchdown, it's pretty demoralizing. Like you mentioned, the block punt, that's even more demoralizing, and we're not even out of the first quarter. I don't know. Even your pass game last week was centered around Charles Asselin, 1 target or 1 completion at least. Like, I understand the focal point for Queens was take him out of the game, but if you're Ottawa, it's now on you to be more creative to scheme him up and get him the ball in space.
Yeah, I think that's my big takeaway here. I did see a lot of things that I liked from the GG's defensive unit. But yeah, it's the ability to generate scoring opportunities for yourself. You can't, get blanked in 3 quarters and expect to win a football game. So yeah, I got to agree with you on that point. So that's my piece on that one too. Let's move on to the final game of week 4 before we can start talking about these week 5 matchups. The Windsor Lancers taking a 29-0 win against those York Lions. Great performance from Brady Lidster in this one, going 5 for 6, hitting one from deep, 41 yards out for those Windsor Lancers. Generated most of the scoring, for the Lancers in this one. Yeah, over half the scoring in this one.
Pack on the 2 PATs, Connor. We're 16-29 right, or 17-29. Holy.
There you go. So did generate more than half the scoring in this one for his Windsor Lancers. But Carson Roy had a pretty decent game in this one too, through 2 touchdowns. And obviously, if you're pitching a shutout, 29-0, that Windsor Lancers defense was rolling in this one.
Yeah, and I think credit to York. Their defense has been pretty strong against the run so far this year. When you watch the tape, I think some of their pass concepts and their DBs are really bailing and showing early. But in the run game, they're solid. And teams have to work for everything they get. Ottawa found that out. Queens found that out. I credit to Windsor for winning when they had to off the bye, but they've got confidence, and they host Ottawa next week, which is a miserable trip for the GGs mid-season. Got to think that Windsor's starting to feel themselves heading down the stretch now.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that they have every right to here. Coming into this game, they were ranked number 5 in the nation. I really like a lot of things that they're doing. I think they're starting to get a little more dynamic with their offense this year. They can certainly run the ball. We know that they can do that, but 2 passing touchdowns this week. They're finding ways to score through the air. They're taking advantage of special teams opportunities. I mean, when you got a kicker that can punch one from 41 yards out, why not? If you're in range for them and you can get some points, I'll take those points all day long. Leads to a 29-0 win. Windsor has every right to flex a little bit right now. Don't get too cocky, but be confident. I think this is a good football team.
Absolutely. All right, and that kind of concludes the OUA week that was. Check it out at OUA.ca. Check the games out at OUA.tv. Check us out at CF Perspective anywhere you want on social media. And if you want to hear some more about the rest of the conferences, get the podcast wherever you download your music from. Enjoy the week. We'll talk to you later on with the marquee matchup for this upcoming week number 5.